start with some basics of React.
Okay.
Yeah, okay. So, can you present your screen?
So,
Excuse me, Somen.
Yes, Rashmi.
Yeah, we have more members, so they are coming in 2-3 minutes. Then we will start.
Okay, okay.
Radhika also there in the meeting. She is new, so if possible for you to start uh, new session like first session.
Okay, so do I need to start like from JavaScript?
No, first day you did explain whatever you explained first day. Please repeat
Mhm.
same if possible for you.
Okay, okay.
Yeah. Let me inform to all members, then we will start.
Okay.
Hello, Swati.
Yeah, hi.
Hello.
Yeah, my name is Satish.
Okay,
Swati,
Satish.
my wife. Okay.
Okay,
Okay. So
checking
who
the
is
video.
the trainer?
Yeah, his name Sominder.
Sominder. Okay. Okay. Hi, Sominder. How are you?
Yeah, hi
Everybody
Satish.
joined.
I'm good.
Radhika joined, and who else joined?
Radhika, Stika, and Ravi. He is my team member, so he is hosting this meeting.
Who else is joined? Radhika and Sadhika, and who else? Divya joined or no?
No, Divya not joining it.
Why Divya not joined?
Let me check.
Sharon. Okay, so who the trainer is what's his name? Somindra. Hello.
Yes, Satish. Yeah. My name is
Yeah.
Somindra. Yeah.
Somindra. So what I am expecting from you, right? So what topics are you going to cover in React JS and
So
fundamentals
as per
HTML CSS?
Yeah, so so the plan is to start from JavaScript and then we will swiftly move towards React, like the basic things like components and props, and then
What about
we'll move.
HTML and CSS?
HTML and CSS wasn't part of the original plan, but I can accommodate if you want.
No, you have to accommodate.
Okay, if that's okay, that's fine.
No, it won't take much, right? Like 2-3 classes on HTML and 2-3 classes on CSS.
Yeah,
That
that's
is
correct.
important. Without them, it will be difficult for them.
Yeah, no,
Okay.
I was giving training to Sadhika, and Sadhika is aware of HTML and CSS, so that's the
No.
reason we didn't
That's
touch upon it.
I know. But even though if she is aware, but just take it again.
Yeah, no issues.
Okay. And in React also. So what I'm expecting, right? So they should be able to pick up the fundamentals. Fundamentally, they should get strong. They should be strong. You teach them. I will tell you some of the topics you might be covering already. Important thing is the responsiveness. How to write a media query, and simple example, and how to use the bootstrap. Okay, bootstrap grid, and how to use the flexbox. Okay, these three are very important properties you should cover as far as HTML CSS perspective. And in the JavaScript, right, you should tell them that what is a closure, what is a prototype, what is the difference between the ES6 and JavaScript. How ES6 is object-oriented principle wise, and how to write an arrow function. Okay, compared to JavaScript versus that. So these kind of differences you should tell, and then going to the React. Okay, in React also fundamentally, how to create a workspace, how to install the modules, what is the package JSON, what are all the dependencies, dev dependencies, and then how to create a component, how many ways you can create a component, what methods you will have in the component, what render does, right? And how you use the hooks, React hooks, what type of the hooks are there, how you can use the hooks, and how React router works. And
So, okay. So, do you do you have a list of what are the important topics that you need to cover, or
I can give you important topics, because see, I'm targeting how the interviews going to be, what they are going to talk about in interviews. So those topics are very important.
So they're preparing for the interviews, right?
Yeah. So interview perspective, And also those are important topics as well. So if you can target those topics in real time also, it will be easy for them. And also you give them the tasks every day. I'll make sure they're doing it. You have to give them the task. Okay?
Yeah.
They have to work. I will make sure, and I will follow up with them and get it done. You give them the task. If you tell any if you cover any topic, I'll make sure them that they have to work on the assignments. Give them the assignment.
And what's the expectation like? So I'm assuming that when they give the interviews and when they get deployed on project, so they will mostly be working
That
on
is okay. So the later part we will take care. So all I need is the concepts which I am telling you. You cover them. Rest all I will take care.
Yeah. Okay.
Okay. Importantly, yeah. Responsiveness. How to use the Bootstrap library and grid. How to write the media queries, simple media queries, and CSS box model and CSS flexbox. And JavaScript fundamentals. How to write the function. How to the fundamentals, variable declarations, constant versus let, var versus let versus constant, what is a closure, and what are the higher order functions, and in React components, operand life cycle, how to write a component in functional and as well as the class. And
okay, so that one. You want both the class and functional component introduction.
Of course, introduction is compulsory. Yeah, they should know.
Okay.
You can easily cover those. Not a big deal. Okay.
Okay.
Hold on 1 second.
Yeah.
Sorry. Okay. So the expectations which I have from you.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So I was. So can I have
questions? Sharan, why Divya is not joined?
Actually, she is in college, sir.
Oh, then what she said?
I will call you later. Just now I texted to her. So.
Okay. We will talk to her later. Sadhika and Radhika. Yeah. And also Revant. There is one more guy, Revant. Talk to him also today and put him also in training. I will tell.
Yeah, sure, sir.
Okay, so you guys can start the training. Okay, I will drop. That is my expectation. I will send the list of the topics you need to cover. Please WhatsApp me, or we will send it to you. I will send it to Charan. Charan will do it. Okay.
Okay, Satish.
Thank you. Bye.
Okay.
Thanks. Okay, can I have an introduction from the team members then? Sadhika, Sharan, and Radhika. So there are like three of you.
Yes, Amendri. Radhika and Sadhika, and one more. She's not joined yet. Her name Divya. Maybe she will connect after some time, maybe tomorrow.
Okay, so Sadhika, Radhika, and one more was there, right? I think he dropped off.
Yeah, they dropped. They not join.
Okay, so today it will be only Sadhika and Radhika.
Yeah,
Okay.
Yeah, we can start now.
Mm-hmm. Okay, so Sadhika, I know. Radhika, can you introduce yourself? Like, how much do you know of HTML? Have you worked, like created any, kind of a small project or anything like that? What is the exposure that you have in HTML, CSS, and JavaScript?
Hi, can you hear me? Hi,
Yeah,
can you
yeah, I
hear
can
me?
hear you. Yeah, I can hear you.
I don't have any experience in the front end. This is my
Mm-hmm.
first class. I
Okay.
don't have any introduction to HTML or anything.
Mm-hmm. Okay, no issues. So then let's start with HTML then, as part of first thing. Uh, so Radhika and Sadhika both, HTML, it stands for the hypertext markup language. Okay, what it does is that it gives some name to the to your overall document, and based on that naming convention, you kind of have the formatting. So, excuse me. Okay, guys, so can you see my screen, right? Hello?
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, you can see my screen. Okay. Okay, so when you will be creating any HTML page, you'll always put it with .html extension. That way it will be defined as an HTML page. So the first line for any HTML page is this. Sorry. So it's this. So this is your DT. This is also called a DTD reference. Okay. So it tells you what version of HTML to pick up. So right now, if you can see the doc type HTML, I haven't given anything here, but if you want, you can pass some parameters here. Based on that parameters, let's say if you want to use HTML4 instead of HTML5, then in that case, you can provide that in that as a parameter to this, and then it will pick up HTML4. So basically you have to give the DTD reference. You can Google the DTD reference and give it here. Okay, but in general, like for most of the cases, we don't require to change our HTML versions as such, because HTML5 is supported in almost every browser. So we start with this very simple convention, defining the doc type as HTML. Okay. Then the next would be then we basically start with the rest of our HTML page. So let me show you something. You go to here only. Um, go to elements. So if you see, this is a Stack Overflow, and this is how the page is been it looks like. So here, if you see, there are lots of scripts here. So that's because it's been defined, it's been developed in some kind of a framework like React or Angular. We will cover that later on. But what you can see is that there's some kind of HTML page that gets loaded here, and that's why you see these HTML tags. So we start with the head. The next thing, once we have defined a doc type, then the next thing that we do is define a head. So when we do that, let's open this in a better ID. Let me, yeah, one thing, all of you should have Visual Studio Code installed in your systems so that you can work upon it. Let's open the file. Yes, okay. So here we give the first thing is doc type, then we give head. Okay, once we give the head, then you can put a lot of things here. One of the things that we put is title, which is the title of the page. What is the title that we need to provide? So let's say this is our, let's say a blog, or maybe our blog. Okay, and then there are other things like you provide the source, you provide links, and those things we have discussed. I've discussed with Sadhika, but we'll discuss later on. Right now, since we are only covering the HTML part, so we'll not go into that. And after the head, sorry, you have this HTML tag also. After the head, you have something, we define a body. Let's say that it has a title. Is blog. And right now, you may not be very familiar with all the tags that I'm using, but I'll explain it to you in a short while. This is our manual blog. And we are using it. So let's see how this looks like. If we go back to our file explorer. Yeah. So this is how it looks like. If you see, I'm not sure if it's visible to you. Okay, let me open this in a new tab. Yeah. So pay attention to where some of the things appear and how it appears. So the first thing that we did in our code was this title, which was our blog, and this appears here. So this is actually the title. Then you see this H1 tag. This H1, H stands for header, and 1 stands for, you can think of it as the size. So there are like, it comes in 6 different forms, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Okay, and we will check each one of them right now. But for the time being, if you see, this is how our header is. Then we have this our random blog, which is a paragraph. Okay, then we created another paragraph in which we are using it to learn HTML. So this paragraph is denoted by P. And then we created another paragraph in which we say thank you, right? So what is the utility of like doing enclosing these in paragraphs? So if you see, if I write, this is a random blog, and then I press enter, and then I write, okay, I want it to be in a new line. I have to save, and if I do this, you see that it came in the same line only. That's because the HTML does not, like the interpreter, like the compiler of the this browser doesn't know that do you want it, how does it know, like do you want it in a new line or in the same line? Because if you're using this the only way it can differentiate is if you explicitly tell it that okay fine, this is a new paragraph, you need to start it from a new line. Or there is one other way which you can also use this thing, br slash. So this is like a line break. So if you do that, then it will come to the next line. So that is one way, or you can use, if it's a paragraph, then you can use the p tag also. So that is what the utility of this HTML is. It gives some kind of a definition to your overall web page by defining each and every element that you define within your web page, what it stands for, and based on what it stands for, it will basically define like how it's going to look like on your page. So for example, this is our title, and we defined it as a title, sorry, as a heading, right? That's why it appears as a heading. This one was a normal paragraph. This one was also a normal paragraph. Okay, so if you just Google like different, maybe just like HTML tags. So if you Google it, you'll find out that there are a lot of many different HTML tags, but and it's not possible to go through all of them. Okay, and more importantly, we don't actually use all of them in most of the times, but there are some tags which we use more often and more like frequently, and that's why they are like more important. So I'll go through them one by one. Let's first give you some intro, like how this H1, H2 works. So let's remove all this P thing. Okay. So this is one. Let's give another one. And then another one. Then another one. Then another one. Another one. Let's run this and see what happens. So this is how it is. There are like different kinds of headings of different sizes. As I was saying that there are lots of HTML tags and not all of them are important, but some of them are like more important than others. So let me tell you what they are. And I'll tell you in HTML style only. Okay. Um, so we start with the first one is the P tag. Then you have we have the div tag, very important. Then you have span tag, which we often use. Then you have the heading tag, which we have already seen. Then we have center tag, which we use sometimes. Then we have yeah, what else? Let's see. Block code we don't use that often. Oh yeah, we also use this one, the ULLI tags, which we are currently using right now. You'll see how it works. If there's anything else. Okay, yeah, image tag is there, img, nav tag is there, yes. Image tag, nav. Oh yeah, anchor tag. Anchor. Let's see what else is there. Yeah, strong is a very handy thing. Sometimes we also, oh yeah, table tag is also there. Strong table. Yeah. Yeah, input tag is there. Input. Okay, let's see if there's anything else. Yeah, that's all. So you have this entire list of so many tags. Generally, we don't use all of them, but if you want, you can explore some of them on your own. But these are primarily the tags which we use more often and are more important than others because they are used more frequently. Now, if I save it and if I run this, so this is how it looks like, and we'll cover one by one all of them. Okay, so first is the P tag. So let's start with it. So since we are like starting a new kind of section on our page, it's better to define it within a div tag. Like it's a kind of a division of our web page. So we used div tag like this. So in here, the first thing that we do is the title of what we are going to do or what we are going to talk about. So we are going to talk about the P tag. Now, what this P tag stands for is it is used to create a paragraph, or in a much better sense, define a paragraph within the HTML document. Now, what does that mean? It is used to create a paragraph, or in a much better sense, define a paragraph within HTML document. So basically what this means is, see, if you want to, like, how do you like indicate that it's a paragraph? Excuse me. Yeah, how do you indicate that it's a paragraph? So basically there should be some gap between your last line and the starting of the next line, right? So this is something that we can also achieve using CSS. Okay, and we don't, but that is not is not like the correct way, because when you send that information to some other browser, okay, at that point of time, the browser should know that this is a paragraph. Okay, you don't have to explicitly add any kind of styles just to make that gap, right? So that's why I say that in a much better sense, we basically define a paragraph within an HTML document. Because if you want to create a paragraph, or simply meaning if you want to create space between two last line and the next line, you can do it with CSS. I'll tell you, like within the div tag, you can get there is a property. When I teach CSS at that point of time, you'll see that there's a property called border bottom. You can use that, or you can use padding bottom, something like that. So in those cases, you can create a very easily, you can create a some space between your next line and the current line. Okay, but you should always use the paragraph, because since this is a new paragraph, so that when you send across this document to when you use this document to run on a certain browser, okay, the browser should know that we are talking about a paragraph. Then your styles will be applied consistently across the page. And if you don't use a paragraph, if you use like something else, like you create a space using styles, then it will create a lot of mess. Okay. You'll understand when you'll start doing it, not in the initial phase, but when you start developing actually some bigger kind of pages and applications, that at point of time you'll understand. For the time being, what's important for us is to know that p tag is used to create a paragraph in the most simplest of sense. So we save it and we run it. So this is how it comes up. Okay. Now the next thing that we're going to say is the div tag. Okay. So a div tag. So a div tag is basically, it is used to create a division on a page. Basically, what it means is you define a certain space where you want to add elements. Think of it more like an indentation or nesting to the current page. Okay. So what the div tag is used to create a division on a page. Basically, what it means is you define a certain space. So let me show you what I mean by this. Okay. Let's inspect the element, and we don't have yeah. Okay, we don't have a CSS here yet. That's why we are not able to define the CSS styles. So, but what I'm trying to get to here is like this entire thing. Okay, this is like one block. Okay, so using the div tag, we have created this as one block, and this entire thing, okay, you can think of it as one box. When I do the CSS at that point of time, I will apply a property called border. Okay, and then I'll assign it a property 1 pixel solid red. So at that point of time, you will see that a red colored, the entire div tag will appear as a box with red border. So you will know that, this is basically a block. And then we come to the span tag. Okay, first of all, like, do you guys have any questions so far? Sadhika, Radhika, Divya, anyone?
No, Sumendra.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, we have covered very basic so far. but feel free to ask anything that comes to your mind. So let's move to the span tag here. There.
So Mendel, we can't hear you.
Yeah. Yeah, actually I was speaking on mute. So yeah, you can see here, so what a span tag essentially means is that it's more like an inline container of a text. So let's say that you have defined a paragraph in which you are writing something, and within the paragraph, you want to you want to kind of highlight or define something, some kind of a text within it. Then you can use the span tag for that. Okay, let's, oh yeah, I forgot one thing. There's one more thing, button. So let's say that if you are like using a button and you want to define what the button name should be, in those kind of cases you can use a span tag. You will see more examples of it going forward, but for the time being, what you can think of it is like an inline container, a text which basically is a part of a larger text. So in those cases you can use a span tag. Then you have the heading. So heading, we have already seen examples of it. Okay, I'll give one once again. So sorry. So this is how a heading looks like you can give it if you give it the one heading, that's the largest font. Then the second heading, this is the third heading, like third heading sense, it depends on the size, like you have title and you have subtitle, etc. So based on that, you can give like H1, H2, H3, whatever size you want. And based on that, you're going to get a heading out of it. And so that's very simple. Let's see what else is there. You have the p tag, we have covered div tag, span tag, heading. Okay, center. The center, okay, center is like one tag we generally don't use. One of the reasons for this is that it's, basically center is used to center a certain element, okay, certain HTML element. Okay, but generally, since we do it with CSS most of the times, or we use it with Bootstrap, because many times we just don't want to center something horizontally or vertically. Like on the screen, we want something to be at the center, both horizontally and vertically. And for that, you may have to apply some different CSS styles. So center tag is like a very limited in what it can do, but still you can use it sometimes. Okay, it can be a little handy. So I'll just give you an example of for this. I don't know if it is deprecated or not, because I think center tag is deprecated, but I'll have to check. Heading. Let's keep it in the center. Yeah, you can see that it gives a red kind of a warning. I think it's deprecated. Let's see. Works. Yeah, for the time being it works. But just remember that you shouldn't be using the center tag, because it may be deprecated in HTML5 or something. Yeah, and generally, for most of our use cases, we don't use the center tag. If you are like developing and if you come across a use case when you have to center an HTML element, then you should use either CSS or you should use Bootstrap or something like that. You should not use center tag. This should be used like in very kind of emergency situations, and you have to be well aware of the fact that it may not work on all browsers, and going forward it will become deprecated. So keep these two things in mind and try not to use it. But just for your information, I gave it to you. Then you have the ULLI, which is okay. So ULLI, you can already see the example here. So what UL stands for is unordered list, and LI is basically your list element. So whatever, so you can see here, you have this, you have a kind of a list here where I've given all the tags. So this works with UL. The UL basically defines what your list is going to be, and then individual elements can be defined using the LI tag. So let's, I'll just give it some introduction to this. Oh, sorry. This is just a heading. We'll define the paragraph here. Right. So we have the ULLI, now the image. So image tag is primarily used to insert any image into your HTML document. Like let's say you want some image to appear on your HTML document, then in that case, you can use the image tag. Let me give an example for that. So image tag, unlike some of the other tags that you might have seen here, comes with some attributes. Like you have to give some attributes to it. I can tell you img. So this is the image tag. You have to give the source, and you can give it a height and width also if you want. And there's something called alt. You can give it an alt also. So what alt stands for is alternative text. Like for example, if someone is not able to view the image, if he just hovers over it, he will be able to see some text written. So that's what alt stands for. If you want to give width and height, you can also give that. Yeah, but these attributes, we'll learn about it later. Um, so, and yeah, in order to close, so far you might have seen that every HTML tag is also closed with this slash tag, right? But HTML is a self-closing tag. Like you can also close it like this. There's no harm if you close it like this also. Like you can do it like this also, but since it's also self-closing, so you can just do like this and it will close. Now does this source contain? So this source essentially contains the source of your image. Okay, for example, if your image is there on your local machine, then you have to give the path to your image. Or if it's there on on the URL stands for uniform resource locator. So if you have a uniform resource locator defined for your image, then you can use that URL and provide it here. And given that you're connected to the internet, it will take the image from your URL and display it on your web page. So let's see, and as an example, let's search for some image first. Sample image for HTML. Okay. This one, something better. Maybe I can give Mickey Mouse. Let's see if we can get this one. Going to visit this. This one won't work. Okay, let's see. Yeah. Maybe if they're not blocked by a proxy, then it should work. Okay, so we gave the source here. Let's see if we can see the image here. Yeah, we can see it. So this is how our image tag works. Two. And image moving document. Right. Okay, so that was for the image tag. Now let's move to nav. So nav is like, what can I say? Generally, we use nav to create a kind of a navigation menu. So you might have seen, let's say we go to Stack Overflow only. Okay, where is it? Yeah. Yeah, just so in the top, if you see that there's this a list of 182 Stack Exchange items, then you have rewards, then you have inbox elements, then you have something related to my profile, then you have products and all those things. You have a search bar. So apart from the search bar, all these things, if you see on the right side, they form what we call a nav bar. So they are basically navigating, they're essentially menu items, and they're contained within a nav bar. So this first thing is basically what a nav bar contains. Okay, so if you ever write, okay, or not here, you ever write like nav bar, so you can see here in the images. So these are all examples of nav bar, and the nav tag is essentially used to create that. So you can use a nav tag, and within the nav tag, you can define whatever, like, maybe an unordered list of all the elements that you want here, like home. Then you have about us, and all those things. So you might be wondering, well, if we are using ultimately unordered list and li, then why do we need to use a nav tag, right? The answer is the same for why do you need to use the p tag if you can create space between the last and the first lines with using CSS. So you don't need to create you need explicitly a p tag, right? But for you to define exactly what it is, it's very important that because when you will be designing more complicated applications, it's very important for you to keep your design consistent across all the pages, and therefore it is important for you to define your elements of your document very consistently. Say for example, if this is a nav bar, then let's say you have 5 different pages, and on 5 different pages in the nav bar you have different menus. Okay, but you want all of them to appear within the same style, like the same background color and all those things. So it's important for you to define like each of them inside the nav bar, so the document, like through the HTML, you can know that this is essentially a nav bar, and then you can apply the same kind of styles over it. And that's why we use the nav bar. Okay, hope that makes sense. If you have any questions, you can ask. If you do not understand anything, or if you are like confused by something in nav tag, you have the p tag here. It's used to create the nav bar. Navigation is used to not create, but define navigation items list, etc. Here's an example. Okay. So if you go here, if you see, so if you see the output here, home and about us, it doesn't really has a lot of difference in it, right? So it's more like a simple unordered list. But what's important is that if you click here, you go to inspect, you will see that it's a nav element. So the HTML knows that, well, yeah, it contains an unordered list, but essentially they are all part of the navigation items. So this is how you can identify within your HTML or within your web page what is what. And that's why it's important to correctly use the tag for each and every element. Yeah. Let's move to the next one. Okay, let me just take my status here. Yeah, where was I? Okay, so we used the anchor tag. Yeah. So anchor tag is another like an important tag. It's basically so on an HTML. Okay, let me give you another example from Stack Overflow. So if you see this, like if you see the search items, or if you see the Stack Overflow, what happens when you click on it? You see, immediately starts to load and you get redirected to a new page, right? And sometimes, let's say, there are some external links also. If you click on that link, you basically get redirected to a different site. So this is what anchor tags do. They are essentially hyperlinks. The links means they are kind of links which link you to a different web page. And for defining that, you use the anchor tag. I'll give you an example for that. Or maybe you can just simply use links to your document. Okay, so let's give you an example. Let's say, so anchor tag is defined by A. Now now you have to like give it some attribute. So the anchor tag takes link. Okay, or you can also use source. Let's see. Not this one. Yeah. Yeah, href, correct. So href, it takes the attribute href. Href stands for hyperlink reference. Href, and this is also self-closing. You can close it like this, and here you can define any website that you want to redirect to. Let's say I want to redirect to what can I okay, Stack Overflow. Mm, oh, okay. I didn't do anything. Yeah. So this hyperlink got created. When you click on this, you'll see that it gets redirected to Stack Overflow. Okay. Now, there are like different ways in which you can use tag like this anchor tag. For example, let's say when you click on Stack Overflow here, we don't want it to get we don't want this page to go away. We want it to open in a kind of a different tab altogether. Then you can also use some other attributes are also there. For example, you can use target and you can use blank. So if you do that, then what happens is if you click on Stack Overflow, it opens in a new tab instead of the existing tab. So you can explore more about the different attributes that anchor tag can take. But at a very basic level, this is how it is. Like it starts with an A stands for anchor. Then it takes an important attribute called href. Href stands for hyperlink reference. And then you have the link to the site, and you can use some text to identify like what it stands for. So that link is Stack Overflow. You can write anything here. Okay. And so that's how it's work. You can also write solo, or you can write HTML training, whatever. So whatever you write, the link will appear like that only. Okay, that's it from the anchor tag. Now let's talk about strong. Okay. Okay, strong is another tag that we often use. Also time. Okay. So yeah, strong is another tag that we often use. So this is used to kind of create bold statements. It's used to uh, create sentences, words, which can be, which are more like bold. It's more like highlighting the particular text. Let me give an example. Here is an example. I want to highlight this example. Okay, so I have already said now I want to give special, treatment to this example because it's important. So I have already said that for doing that, we use the inline style span. So we will enclose this example within the span tag just to make sure, just to indicate that we are kind of, this is more like a more like an inline container to the actual, more like a context to an actual text. Now we want, now that's okay. Like from the HTML perspective, we have kind of identified this, but we want to also highlight this so that from the user's perspective also, the user knows that, okay, fine, this is something different. So for that, we can also enclose it within the strong tag. So let's go back to our page. We do that here. So you can see here this example tag, it appears in bold. Okay, more like a bold kind of a thing. So this kind of, what essentially does is that it highlights to the user that, okay, this is something that I am kind of, I kind of highlight, I'm kind of highlighting this to the user that, okay, fine, pay special attention to this particular word. And that's why I use the strong for user highlighting and for identifying that this is different or more like, a part of this overall text. Then we can use a span tag here. Now let's come to the next part, which is table. Okay, before table, I will cover button, input, and text area because they're simple ones. Right. We used to create a button. Now, obviously, in any HTML page, you would require a button, right? So a button is used for many different things. Let's say submitting something, when you click on it, something happens, some kind of, an interaction is required, and those interactions happen through buttons, and buttons appears in all forms. Like sometimes they can be circular, sometimes they can be square shaped, sometimes they have a variety of shapes, right? So we'll see how we can create, circular buttons and stuff like that. But for the time being, what we just want to learn is like how to create a simple HTML button. So for that, we use this button tag. And whatever you want to call this button, let's say submit button. We define it here. And let's move back. And you have the button tag, and this is your button. So right now, if you click on this button, nothing happens, but soon you will see like how it basically helps you. When we will create with CSS, and then we will add like more, the button actually starts to really work when we start working with JavaScript. So at that point of time, we'll see how it works. Then you have the input tag. Now we are talking about. So the input tag is used to create an input field on your HTML document. Okay, so this is how it is. So input tag also has got some attributes. Okay, one important one is like some attributes can be ID, can be class. We will learn about them in CSS. But one thing that can be is a placeholder. Okay, I'll show you what a placeholder is, but not now. Yeah, so if I just give you a simple input tag, it's also a self-closing tag. You don't have to do like this, sorry. Even if you do no harm, but since it's self-closing, you can do like this. Let's see here, come back here. You see this thing coming up here. So this is like input tag. So here you can write anything. Okay. Now, what does this input tag stands for? Like, what do we need to enter here? So this is something which is told to us by, you can tell it by using the placeholder attribute. So in the place order, like enter your name or something, your name, your. So now you can see this enter your name, but when you click on this and when you start typing, this enter your name goes away. So that's how the input, that's what the input tag does. It creates an input field for you. And similar to the input tag is also a text area. Okay, text area you can, sorry. Okay, the text area tag is used to create um, text area document. So sometimes, for entering certain things, one simple input text is not, permissible or advisable more in a way. For example, if you're trying to enter your address, then the address can actually span across multiple lines, right? So yeah, the address can span across multiple lines. So in those cases, a simple input text is may not be that suitable. Maybe you need to provide the user a little bit more area so he can also view what he has written. So in those cases, we use a text area. I'll give an example. Here is an example. And then you have the text area. And the text area also, you go here. Yeah, you can see that one difference with this is that it's a little bit bigger. So, and it's also like you can also drag it and, kind of increase its area. So in that way, user, if he has to type across multiple lines, for example, his address or something like that, and then it's more advisable to use a text area instead of an input tag. But again, you will see that this is more likely like not often used because this input tag only you can increase the height and width of this box that's appearing using CSS. So sometimes this is also used sometimes, but you'll see many times that input tag only has been changed to accommodate more area instead of specifically using a text area, right? But still for information, you should know that what a text area is. Okay, now what's left is just table. So, so more often like, so far we have seen all kinds of data, like we have used an HTML, like a hyperlink, which links us to a different page. We have seen how to add an image. So we have seen everything. Now, the only thing that is sometimes we also work with data in real life. And for data, we also need to tabulate the data, and that's where the table comes in. So let's give an example for that. Example of a table. Okay, so a table basically goes like this. So first you have the table tag, and inside a table tag you have certain things. Okay, the one thing that you have is TR. It stands for table row. So you fill up the table row wise, like first row, then second row, then third row. And within the first row, you can add some data, like maybe you can, maybe if you want to add name and phone number. Then that's the end of the first row. Then in the second row, you want to add the actual name and maybe the phone number. If you save this and if you run this, here's what, oops, the table doesn't appear. Table row, table data. Yeah, it all seems good. Okay. So you might be missing something here. Tag HTML. Yeah, that's fine. So it should also appear without the headings also. Which are why here. Let's add this here. See what happens. Yeah, I mean the border lines are not coming. That's what I'm looking for. Okay, for them it's coming. Okay, they have used they have used the CSS for that. That's why it's coming. Anyways, so we will use CSS later on, not right now. Okay, but for the time being, what you can really think of is like this is more like a table. Okay. So you have the data inserted row wise. This is the first row, this is the second row, and then you have the table data, and TH stands for the table header. So this first row is basically contains all the header for the tables, and the second row contains the data. And sequentially you can add more rows to it and keep on adding data to it. Just works like that. Okay, hope that makes sense. And don't worry about the table, like the border. So there's the CSS property called border, and you can provide it like 1 pixel solid something. So we'll learn about it in CSS, and then we will be able to see. When we do CSS at that point of time, we'll be able to see a lot of things like how this div tag is working, like the block that it's creating, and similarly for the this thing also, for the table tag also. So that's all for today. And what we are going to do next is I want you to create a simple HTML blog for yourself. Now, what that blog is going to contain is what that blog is going to contain is your name, your image. You feel free to use any image, not yours, any image from the internet, whatever you wish. It should contain a little introduction about yourself. It should contain what your hobbies, your strengths, weaknesses, and career aspirations. So just create a blog with all these details. Okay. This introduction that you will be writing should be, I should span at least like maybe 2 paragraphs. 2 short paragraphs should be fine. Okay. Sorry. So this is what you need to do as part of your, kind of an, you can think of it as practice. I won't say it as a homework. You can think of it as more like a practice. You can always make use of this random page that we created today. I'll see if I can send this to you, and then you can use it as a reference, and you can create a simple HTML page with all these details in it. Okay. So since we are at the end, let me know if you have any questions so far. Sadhika, Radhika, Dipya, anyone? Hello?
Yes, Amanda.
Yeah, so does anyone have any questions so far?
No.
Okay. Are you guys comfortable with the homework or assessment, whatever that's given, like you need to create this blog?
Yes.
Okay. Okay, then let's let you do your assessment, and if you want to like experiment with some of the other HTML elements, you can always Google it and see what attributes they take, and you can do your experiments there. Can come back to me tomorrow with all your blocks, and then we will. So once you're comfortable with HTML, we'll head forward to CSS. I think I've covered mostly all the HTML tags that are required in a like that you will be asked for in your interviews, and that's and but there can be some other tags are also there which you can just simply explore it. It may not be that frequently used in day-to-day development activities. Okay, so let's meet tomorrow. I hope you have like taken a screenshot of what was required from your assessment perspective. I think the recording is still there on, so you will get it from there. Not, I'm just taking a picture, send it to you. Okay, and